Shabbat Shalom, welcome. I'm Rabbi Jonathan Blake. Cantor Amanda Kleiman and I are so happy that you've joined us for this Shabbat worship online here at our WRT, many streaming channels on our temple website and on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. Wherever you are and however you're connecting with one another and with us tonight, we welcome you and we wish you Shabbat Shalom. Of course, this is an anxious moment in our nation's history, and that probably means it may be an anxious moment in your home. But what better way to spend an hour or so than by getting away from the 24/7 news cycle, which probably doesn't have any new news to report right now, and spending a little bit of time with one another and with us as we welcome Shabbat. We're going to kindle our lights for Shabbat and pray that their glow will illuminate a way forward for us. Please join us as we pray together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
We'll welcome Shabbat together with the words of Shalom Aleichem, which mean peace be upon you. I spent a little time this morning with some of the little ones in our ECC helping to welcome Shabbat with them. I taught them the words Shabbat Shalom. I said it may be a Shabbat of peace. And they said, what does peace mean? And I thought about it for a little while. And I told them that peace means a chance for all of us to take a deep breath. And I think that we all very much need that deep breath this Shabbat. And so we sing Shalom Aleichem, may peace be upon us. May we all have an opportunity to take a deep breath this Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Seitchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue now with the words of Lecha Dodi. We'll sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Before the final verse, I would invite you to rise, to turn, and to face your door to welcome the Shabbat bride.
kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, shamor vezachor bediבור echad, ishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad ushmo echad, Shemo tiferet velitchila, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh v'machshava tchila, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech kumi ori, Uri, uri, shir daveri, kevod Adonai alayich nigla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela.
I'd invite you to rise now, turn and face the door to greet the Shabbat bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha u'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekavela.
We remain standing for the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer.
Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We often refer to the prayer Mi Chamocha as our people's song of freedom. We don't often, however, focus on what happens in the Torah right after the people sing that song of freedom. Right after the Israelites cross the Red Sea from slavery into freedom, we read about their fear, their anxiety, their uncertainty, as having just experienced this momentous time, they now find themselves in the wilderness. And so we proceed Mi Chamocha this evening with this meditation called Grace in the Wilderness by Rabbi Karen Kadar. God, creator of light and goodness, may we find grace in the wilderness. Help this great nation emerge from chaos and fear to healing and tranquility. We ask our leaders to act with insight and honor, to carry authority with humility and compassion. Righteousness exalts a nation. And as for me, Holy One of blessing, may this be my prayer. Still my troubled being, for I yearn to emerge from darkness and confusion. Lift me, carry me, set me upon a rock, that I may feel safe within the storm. I have sat in the valley of tears long enough. Strengthen my resolve that I may be a force for good, a light when there is darkness. Help me be guided by acts of love and kindness, compassion and understanding. May I find the way to transcend my inclination for strife and be a bearer of hope and righteousness. Though I have fallen, I rise again. Though I sit in darkness, God is my light. Guide me, comfort me, grant me strength. May this be my prayer. We continue now with Mi Chamocha, our people's song of freedom, but also our people's song of inspiration for the journey through the wilderness ahead.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder ba'kodesh, norah tehillah, oseh velech, norah tehillah, oseh velech. Yai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. ונאמר כי יפרע אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Please rise.
Yai lai 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 lai, 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 yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please take these next few moments to pray silently.
Don't look back. If we learn anything from the sad tale of Lot's wife, the tale recounted in this week's Torah portion, Vayera, it is this: don't look back. Perhaps a little recap is in order. Our story concerns the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, two of the 5 cities of the plain that the Bible tells us were located in the Jordan Valley near the Dead Sea. Now, if you've ever visited this region, you will recall a landscape as barren as any on earth. Fierce desert heat, a body of water so glutted with salt that nothing can survive, jagged outcroppings at every turn, and the all-pervasive stink of sulfur. The last time I led a temple trip to Israel, we actually had to reroute our visit to the Dead Sea on account of a mysterious sinkhole that appeared out of nowhere and threatened to swallow up any hapless passersby, tour bus and all. It is a wasteland of wreckage and ruin, a desolate wilderness that must have fueled the biblical imagination. Sodom and Gomorrah were bad places. How bad? Well, when I think of Sodom and Gomorrah, I call to mind Obi-Wan Kenobi's grim appraisal of Mos Eisley spaceport on the desert planet of Tatooine. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. How bad were Sodom and Gomorrah? Think 2020, but worse. Cruelty, arrogance, and mendacity ruled the land. Rabbinic legend is replete with references to the residents of Sodom and Gomorrah as greedy, self-absorbed, and particularly suspicious of and inhospitable to immigrants and foreigners. In this week's Parsha, an angry mob assembles at the doorstep of Lot, Abraham's nephew, threatening to assault those inside, all because Lot had the audacity to harbor 2 visitors. Lot begs the mob to leave the men alone. Appallingly, he even offers up his 2 daughters instead. Such was the effect that Sodom and Gomorrah seemed to have on its residents. God prepares to do away with these cities of sin, but first, God discloses the apocalyptic plan to Abraham, who pushes back. Far be it from you to do such a thing to bring death upon the innocent along with the guilty, so that innocent and guilty fare alike. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly? A famous round of bargaining ensues. Abraham persuades God to spare the cities for the sake of just 50 innocent people, should they find them, then 40, then 30, 20, even 10. How bad were Sodom and Gomorrah? So bad that not even 10 righteous souls can be counted. God's plan proceeds. The wayfarers whom Lot had sheltered overnight turn out to be divine messengers. After repelling the fevered mob, they all hunker down for the night. The next morning, they bring Lot outside, and one said to him, "Flee for your life. Do not look behind you nor stop anywhere in the plain. Flee for the hills lest you be swept away." Lot and his family make their escape while God rains down sulfurous fire on the cities and all the surrounding farmland. The Torah describes the scene as one of utter devastation, with the smoke of the land rising up like the smoke of a kiln. Lot's wife turns around and immediately turns into a pillar of salt. I think many of us can relate to poor Mrs. Lot. For the last few days, we have turned into zombies, our gaze constantly on the election returns, paralyzed, hardly able to do much else. I've been teaching classes online for teens and adults since Wednesday, and my cheerful greeting, "How's everyone doing?" has been met with vacant stares and gape-mouthed mumbles of exhaustion. The story of Lot's wife is a cautionary tale. The moral: don't look back. Midrash elaborates. The rabbis teach that Lot's wife was punished because in gazing back at the burning cities, she indulged her nostalgia, her longing for the life she was leaving behind, specifically a life of luxury and ease, but also a life of greed, self-absorption, and inhospitality, as elaborated elsewhere in the legends about Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife failed, say the rabbis, because of her attachment to the status quo, because she fully embraced and did not repudiate the ruinous society she was ordered to leave behind. Other midrashim view her more sympathetically. One fable explains that Lot's wife looked back anxiously in order to make sure that her grown daughters had made it out. And while the Torah never says so, we learn in another midrash that Lot's wife had a name. She went by the name Edith, or Edith, which comes from a root word meaning witness. Indeed, much interesting folklore has accrued around one particularly evocative geological formation at Mount Sodom near the Dead Sea, an outcropping of rock that stands witness over the Jordan Valley that the Torah tells us was destroyed in the ruin of Sodom and Gomorrah. This rocky outcropping is known in the popular imagination as Lot's wife, and it looks like this. And you can see this little figure here is supposed to be Lot's wife gazing back at the burning cities. Now, whether we approve of Lot's wife or disapprove of her, the Torah clearly wishes for us to learn from her example. Consider that in the Torah, every time the Israelites fail to move forward, they suffer. Time and again, they complain to their leaders that they would rather go back to Egypt than to the great land and great destiny that God has in store for them. Time and again, God punishes the Israelites for their backward gaze. Don't look back. Don't dwell on what has passed. We have just endured an excruciating election season and a period of partisan rancor unseen in generations. Let's move forward. This is no time to wallow in endless recrimination and reprisals. If you are hurting from this election, it's time to stop longing for the past and move forward. If you are pleased with the results, now is no time to gloat or to relitigate old grievances. Or so goes the conventional wisdom. The Gap, the casual clothing chain, The Gap, capitalized on this theme the day after the election with the following tweet. It looks like this. So you can see it depicts a Gap hoodie, one side blue, the other side red, joined at the zipper in the middle with the caption, "The one thing we know is that together we can move forward." Well, the backlash to this tweet was swift and merciless. Twitter users went ballistic, blasting the brand, according to Time magazine, for appearing to gloss over polarizing political divides that were dramatically clear in the lead up to this 2020 election in the service of their own marketing. It was also confirmed, by the way, that the sweatshirt was not an item actually for sale. The message might have seemed non-controversial, the report continues, but in many ways, the reaction to this tweet illustrates just how deep American wounds now run. Feel-good messages of unity, once considered bland and unremarkable, have become themselves the subject of division. So less than 2 hours and close to 1 million views later, The Gap pulled the offending tweet and published the following message. From the start, we have been a brand that bridges the gap between individuals, cultures, and generations. The intention of our social media post that featured a red and blue hoodie was to show the power of unity. It was just too soon for this message. We remain optimistic that our country will come together to drive positive change for all. Now, I'm not sure I'm ready to hire the Gap's marketing director, but I think it was a pretty good save, and one that comments better than just about any cable news pundit on the meaning of this moment. And what is the meaning of this moment? We learned from the tragedy of Lot's wife that danger lurks in looking back. But we also learned from our own experience, from our heads as well as our guts, that it is premature for us to move forward. Where does that leave us? The answer, of course, is here, in the uncomfortable, dare I say, painful present. in an America that is, for all intents and purposes, as bitterly divided tonight as it was last Monday, and will so remain tomorrow, and conceivably for much time to come. To think otherwise would be naive, would it not? 25 years ago this past Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated in cold blood at a peace rally organized to bolster his efforts to pursue a two-state solution with the Palestinians. Rabin had hoped to show his country that millions of Israelis still supported the peace process, which in the prior months to the assassination had been assailed by protests and outbreaks of sporadic violence perpetrated by both Palestinians and Israelis alike. Well, any such hopes were dashed by the 2 bullets fired into the 73-year-old prime minister's arm and back by a 27-year-old Jewish law student and religious extremist named Yigal Amir, who was immediately arrested by Israeli police. At his arraignment, Amir explained that he had murdered Rabin because he planned, and I quote, to give our country to the Arabs. Only after the assassination did it begin to dawn on most Israelis that their country had become irreconcilably divided. Only after the assassination did most Israelis undertake a kind of collective soul searching, which continues to this day, a quarter century later, in a country still scarred by Rabin's murder, still divided along ideological lines, but perhaps a little bit more wary of the dangers of political and religious fanaticism. Now, at the time, in November of 1995, I was a first-year rabbinical student, renting a small apartment in Jerusalem, just 3 blocks from the Prime Minister's residence. I have seen with my own eyes what can happen when a nation fails to acknowledge its own brokenness, when it fails to do the soul searching. I am a witness. So let us all take the time and make the effort to recognize and reckon with the import of this moment. We may have a new president come January, but we should not conclude that all that much has changed. So let's sit for a moment or longer in the stuckness of the now, in the right where we are, perhaps not pining for the past, but hardly ready to march arm in arm into the future. Let us each be a witness to the tattered state of our union, a union divided, a union still without a clear direction, certainly without a direction embraced by all. The outcome of the battle for this presidency may appear, at least for the moment, to be close to decided. But the outcome of the battle for the soul of our country remains very much an open question. And by battle for the soul of our country, I refer to the unresolved questions about the character and direction of our nation, issues of dramatic significance, not just for us as Americans, but for us specifically as Jews, because they touch on so many issues about which Judaism offers its wisdom and raises its voice. Questions such as these. At a time of a global pandemic that has killed more than 220,000 Americans, what will be our approach to public health and safety going forward? As we grapple with a concomitant economic crisis, what will we do to ensure the financial viability and dignity of workers and of all who depend on our economy for their livelihoods? At a time when the effects of climate change become more undeniable with each passing week, with each new devastating fire or hurricane, what will we do to address the devastating human impact of on our fragile planet? At a time when we are having a hard time telling fact from fiction, truth from conspiracy theory, what will be the role of science and rigorous investigation in shaping policy? How can we create a society founded on mutual interest when we remain so divided over the role of racism in providing opportunity to some while denying it to others? How will we regard the immigrant, the refugee, the foreigner who comes to our country seeking safety, opportunity, or both? How will we safeguard the liberties of all people, especially at a time when communities of color fear rising hostility, Jews fear rising anti-Semitism, Muslims fear rising Islamophobia, and the LGBTQ community fears rising homophobia and transphobia. At a time when we are more divided than ever about the role of guns in our society, how will we deal with the fact that every day more than 100 Americans are killed with guns and 200 more are shot and wounded? What will be our country's orientation to the rest of the world, toward countries both friendly and hostile to our interests? How will we even define these interests going forward? What kind of relationship will we pursue with Israel and Israel's role and our role in the Middle East? I share all these vexing questions with you in the context of a Shabbat sermon because I believe that Judaism offers us an opportunity to join an age-old conversation filled with relevant wisdom that does not follow this or that political party, but which also does not allow us the luxury of disinterest on urgent public matters. As the rabbis taught in Pirkei Avot, Al tifrosh min hatzibor, do not withdraw from the public. Or as I often remind my students, Judaism isn't only that thing you do when you're in synagogue, or only when you're around a holiday table at home. Judaism is a comprehensive way of looking at and responding to the world. So inasmuch as politics refers to our public lives, the total complex of relations between people living in society, then Judaism most certainly has a voice to bear on these important matters, a voice that we can and should bring to our civic engagement. So as we remain stuck in this tense and tumultuous moment in the life of our nation, let us also affirm that at WRT, our values remain steadfast, no matter who's in the White House or Congress. Presidents, representatives, and senators, they come and go, but our Jewish values abide. In the name of Pikuach Nefesh, the mitzvah of saving life and preserving life, WRT will continue to do all that we can to protect and promote health, safety, and the security of our congregation, community, nation, and world, especially in the face of this pandemic and in a climate of rising hostility against Jewish communities. In the spirit of tzedakah, righteous action on behalf of the disadvantaged, and with a particular eye toward the challenges of today's economy, WRT will not discriminate against anyone who wishes to participate in the life of our congregation on account of financial need. In the spirit of Reform Judaism, which grew out of the Enlightenment, and in accordance with the teachings of Maimonides, we will strive to accept truth from whatever source it comes, and to pay particular heed to how science and facts must inform all of our pursuits, including our spiritual pursuits. Ours is not a blind faith, but rather what the great Jewish theologian Hermann Cohen proudly called a religion of reason. In accordance with the Torah's oft-repeated mandate to acknowledge and address the plight of the widow, the stranger, the orphan, the immigrant, and the refugee, WRT will continue to respond to the needs of some of the world's most vulnerable people and groups. In keeping with Reform Judaism's unwavering commitment to equality, WRT will insist on justice and inclusion for all of God's children, regardless of ability, age, gender, sexual orientation, background, faith, or skin color. And if you'd like to get involved in our brand new racial justice initiative, this is but one of the many important ways in which WRT will live this value. In the interest of Klal Yisrael, the unity of the Jewish people, WRT will always be there to remind us that we are part of a global community with special ties to Israel, and therefore we have special responsibilities to safeguard, support, and invest in the physical, spiritual, and moral vitality of the world's only Jewish state. In the name of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, we at WRT will strive to transform the world as it is into the world as it ought to be. It is my hope and prayer on this Shabbat that with these principles to guide us, Westchester Reform Temple will continue to give us sufficient strength, inspiration, and the shared commitments that will move us forward, out of the stuckness of the present, our gaze, with God's help, ever on the horizon. Shabbat Shalom.
Following his death, there was a song found, the lyrics of a song were found in Yitzhak Rabin's shirt pocket. The song's called Shir LaShalom, literally means a song for peace. It was an anthem for the Israeli peace movement. The words are, "Let the sun rise, the morning dawn. The purest of prayers will not bring us back. Bitter crying will not awaken or return those whose candles have gone out and who have been buried in the dust. It won't return anyone to us from dark pits. Here, neither joy of victory nor songs of praise will be of any use. So just sing for peace. Don't whisper a prayer. It is far better to sing for peace in one great shout. Let the sun shine through the flowers. Al tabitu le'achor. Don't look back. Leave that to pedestrians. Lift up your eyes in hope, not through gun sights. Sing a song of love, not of war. Don't say the day will come. Bring the day, because it is not a dream. In every city square, cry out for peace."
תנו לשמש לעלות, לבוקר להאיר, אזעקה שבתפילות, אותנו לא תחזיר. מי אשר קבע נרו, ובעפר נטמן, וחימה לא יאירו, לא יחזירו לכאן. איש אותנו לא ישיר, מבור תחתית אפל, כאן לא יועילו לו שירי הניצחון, ולא שירי הלל. על כן רק שירו, שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה. מוטב רק שירו, שיר לשלום, בצעקה גדולה. תנו לשמש לחדור, מבעד לפרחים. אל תביטו לאחור, הניחו לוחים. שאו עיניים בתקווה, לא דרך כוונות. שירו שיר לאהבה, ולא למלחמות. אל תגידו לא יבוא, הביאו את היום, כי לא חלום הוא בכל הכיכרות, הריעו לשלום. על כן רק שירו, שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה. מוטב תשירו, שיר לשלום, בצעקה גדולה. שירו, שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה. מוטב רק שירו, שיר לשלום, בצעקה גדולה.
Thank you so much for honoring the life of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, Zichrono Livracha. May his memory be a blessing. Thank you, Cantor. At this time, we're going to draw into our hearts our loved ones who yearn for healing. If you feel moved to share names aloud, you can do so at this time. We also know that God needs no words spoken aloud for prayers to be heard and acknowledged on high. And so we pray together. And as we do, we, as a WRT community, also pray for the healing of Mordechai Ben Yaakov, Deborah Kapnick, Nicole Shusi, Amelia Austin, Masha Batsora, Joyce Schertzer, Leah Greenspan, Aviva Tzila Bat Esther Bela, Dan Sokolov, Jeffrey Millman, Chava Batsara, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fredel, Sheila Fried, Tanya Romanoff, Yitzchak Yona Ben May, Yaakov Hirsch Ben Rachel, Malka Tzipora Bas Rachel, Tamar Bat Malka, Heschel Meir Ben Davida Chana, David Zev Ben Fruma Etel, Shai Abiad Ben Balfura, and Rabbi Eitan Hammerman. We'll offer together our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Aleinu L'Shabeach is a prayer of hope. It imagines a time when God's rule will be unchallenged and all God's creatures will live in harmony. But it begins with a telling word. The word Aleinu is a word that means it is on us. Bringing about this reality, the action required to realize the kind of world that Aleinu imagines, it's on us. We all have to do our part. So when sometimes people say, Rabbi, do you have anything hopeful to say at this time? I always say, hope is a verb. We're the ones who have to do it. Together, if you're so moved, you may rise as we offer Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon HaKol, Latet Gedula Liotzer Breshit, Shelo Asanu Kigoyei HaRatzot, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We turn now in our thoughts to those, our loved ones who died at this time of year in years past, and those taken recently from our midst. We invite mourners in our community to rise in the following order. If you are within the first 7 days of remembrance for a loved one, please rise at this time. Those who are within Shiloshim, the first 30 days of remembering a loved one, please rise. If you are within a first year of remembrance, would you please rise? And if tonight you are observing a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's death, please rise. And all who are so moved may rise and stand with you as a gesture of sympathy and of fellowship. Together, we also acknowledge in our prayers the 25th yahrzeit of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. We remember those taken in the last 4 weeks from our WRT family: Susan Bond Lockwood, mother of David Lockwood, Margot Lockwood Stein, and Elizabeth Lockwood Ashworth, sister of Nona Ventry; Eleanor Cutlich, grandmother of Julianne Rabb; Mordecai Rocklin, uncle of Freddie Finkelstein; Barbara Scharf, wife of Irving Scharf, and mother of Susan and Andrew Scharf; Eslyn Bassick, wife of Richard Bassick and mother of Jonathan and Matthew Bassick; and Helen Bader, wife of Robert Bader and stepmother of Randy Wise. And those whose yahrzeit we remember tonight: Max B. Ackerman, Nathaniel Bard, Edward Benowich, Pearl Berenson, Beatrice Blackman, Dorothy Block, Joseph Block, Michael Boxer, Paula Breitner, Faith Basser Calderon, Ralph Chippernoy, Harry Dubin, Sam Eisnitz, Manny Elkin, Doris Feigenbaum Feinberg, Herbert Feldman, Dina Forsheimer, Paul Forsheimer, Arnold Gatoff, fellow German, Seidel Glasgow, Max Goldstein, Ann Gorin, Edna Lewis, Ruth Graff, Harold H. Griebel, Blair Grumman, Seymour Geyer, Scott Hockler, Perry Hoffman, Betty K. Capel, Saul J. Kaufman, Samuel Kessler, William Krupman, Fay Lee, Robert Levinson, Sarah Levine, Barney Litt, Stephen Lorinsky, Irving Marks, Rosalind Meltzer, Julius Michaels, Richard Morse, Bertha P. Moss, Ann Newman, Herbert Osterreich, George Paley, Carl Forsheimer II, Bernard Potak, Muriel Pravda, Charles Raphael, Sally Reeser, Ada Rosenfeld, John J. Rosenfeld, Rachel B. Rosenthal, Linda Schechter Giovi, Evelyn Schnur, Cassia Schleyen, Walter Schmerler, Max Silverstein, Arnold Squires, Gloria Stern, David Chorney, Fanny Wilder, Lawrence Willits, Arthur Weiner, and Leo I. Wise. If you have additional names for our commemoration, or if I have inadvertently mispronounced a loved one's name, kindly speak these names at this time. The words of the Mourner's Kaddish, we offer them together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam alamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudusha brichu, Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. You may be seated. Just a couple of announcements before the conclusion of our service. We will make a little kiddush and break bread together. Our congregation sends a heartfelt mazal tov to all of the young people who are celebrating bar and bat mitzvah tomorrow. There are 4 of them. So in the morning, we will celebrate the bat mitzvah of Julia Fenigstein, as well as the bat mitzvah of Phoebe Flaster. And in the afternoon, we will celebrate the bar mitzvah of Jake Rabb and the bat mitzvah of Lily Tesler. And we send our heartfelt mazel tov out to the Fenigstein, Sterling, and Flaster, Rabb, and Tesler families. We also invite you to join us over Zoom for Torah study. We begin with a minyan at 9 a.m., followed by a little chance to schmooze and catch up with our community. And if you have never been introduced to Torah study, I promise you, you will be warmly embraced and welcomed. The people will be very happy to see you. And then we'll study the weekly Torah portion beginning at 9:45 and concluding at 11 a.m. We also invite our families to participate in Sharing Shabbat, which is taking place in person tomorrow morning, as well as for our upper grades, a virtual parallel Sharing Shabbat option. Sunday morning, I will be hosting an online forum, the link to which you can find either in your weekly e-blast or on the temple website, wrtemple.org. This is a post-election conversation called Is It Good for the Jews?, where we will analyze Jewish voting trends in the election that we've just been through, as well as what we know about anticipated policies and directions that may have an impact specifically on the Jewish community. Your participation and presence are most welcome, as are your questions, but we ask that you submit those questions in advance to office@wrtemple.org. I hope that I'll be able to check them out in advance and we'll have a robust conversation. That's Sunday morning at 11. So lots coming up just over the weekend. And in the meantime, let's make sure that we can celebrate Shabbat by offering a little bit of Kiddush and Motzi. Cantor, I am trying to bring this up on the screen and I am having a very hard time. One moment.
Well, while you're working on it, I'd love to add one more announcement, which is that on Sunday at 2 p.m.
The concert.
The first concert in our fall concert series. It will be featuring our very own Pete Mallenbernie together with violinist Julie Kurtzman. This is an album release engagement for their new recording, which is called Candlelight, Love in the Time of Cholera. The concert is sold out, but it will be streaming on Facebook Live, as well as through the live stream on the temple website. So we hope that even if you are unable to join us in person, that you will join us virtually for what I know will be an afternoon of beautiful music.
I actually have 2 spare tickets to the concert that were given by congregants who weren't able to make it. It's first come, first serve. You have to email me at rabbiblake@gmail.com and I will give you 2 tickets to the concert. So just let me know. rabbiblake@gmail.com. First one to hit my inbox gets the tickets. We're excited for this, Cantor. Thank you and Cantor Rodnitsky for putting together these special musical programs. It's meaningful that we can enjoy a little bit of the things that remind us of what life used to be like. Let's lift up our cup filled with the sweet fruit of the vine and acknowledge the sweetness of Shabbat, the sweetness of community, the sweetness of a new day. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shapat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. And I have a challah with me. If you have a challah, you can bring it forward. If you have another person or persons with whom you're sharing your Shabbat evening table and would like to bring those persons closer to you, you can do so at this time as we offer our prayer of gratitude as one community. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avon Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Cantor Kleiman and I will spend the next couple moments promoting to the role of panelist all of the nice people who joined our Shabbat service over Zoom, which means you're kind of in the room with us. That's just going to take a moment. For everyone else, thank you for joining us on this Shabbat evening. Shabbat